Okay, so thank you, Jacqueline. Cleo, she'll probably be making a lot of appearances tonight. This is usually her snuggle time and dinner time. So as everybody's kind of climbing on in here, inviting all in, getting all set up here, welcome. We're going to be talking about creating your circle of self-care tonight. I'm going to give another couple of seconds here, maybe 30 seconds, and then we'll just dive right in for the sake of your precious time, okay? Welcome. I hope everybody's having a good Tuesday evening. Here in the GTA, it's nice and sunny today. Wherever you guys are, I hope it's the same. We had some rain yesterday, so it was pretty blah, right? So, yeah. Okay. Okay, just letting a couple more stragglers come in. Okay. All right, so why don't we get started? Okay, let me see here. Okay, so welcome. Tonight we are talking about creating your circle of self-care. This is a really great time to be focusing on this because as we come back to September, summer's ending, people want to get back into routine. If you're a parent, your kids are going back to school. If you're a student, you're going back to school. Work can get busy this time of year. And then before you know it, the holidays are going to be upon us. So thinking about prioritizing yourself and taking care of you, welcome. We're going to see what that looks like. Okay. I would like to start off by introducing myself. My name is Kourtney Yurgan. I am a registered psychotherapist here at Shift Collab. I support adults who are struggling with stress management, anxiety, and, spoiler, developing self-care. So today we are going to focus on what does self-care mean to you? We're going to open up with a little bit of an icebreaker and get the audience participation. We are then going to talk about the different types of self-care. Now, this is important because people are kind of inclined to do one type of self-care, but they neglect other areas. So say, for example, you're putting all your eggs into one basket of like physical self-care, but you might be neglecting other areas. And that's why we call it the circle of self-care. Because in the medical field, sometimes we say circle of care when you're talking with doctors and therapists and things like that. So we want to kind of round out that experience to make sure that your overall well-being is supported. So how we're going to do that is we're going to talk about CRUM. Right, no spoilers yet as to what that stands for, but these are 4 core components of getting the right amount of different types of self-care. Then we're going to have a little activity on where you can actually fit self-care into your schedule. So the wheel of productivity kind of goes into where's your time going right now. Okay. Then we're going to talk about energy budget, because that is something that a lot of people don't consider. How much energy do you have in a day, and how can we tailor the different activities that you do to meet that energy budget? Okay. And last but not least, we're going to talk about habit stacking and how you can actually put self-care into practice. And this is one of the easiest ways to start because you're already capitalizing on things that you've already got going on in your life. Okay? Let us jump in first by asking, what does self-care mean to you? So feel free to unmute yourself, shout it out into the void, or engage in the chat. Just type it in and, tell me, what does self-care mean to you? Yeah, we've got me time. We've got yoga. Yes, yoga is amazing. Basic needs, avoiding triggers, balance, all really, really good things. Right? Taking time to check in with yourself. Very, very good. Anything that maintains and sustains your mental well-being. Right? Yes. Taking a moment to yourself to get in touch with what your mental and physical needs are. Amazing. I like how you're saying mental and physical. Very, very good. That's going to be important later on. Okay. For those of you just joining, we're just talking about what self-care means to you. Feel free to unmute yourself, shout into the void, or type it into the chat. We've got setting time aside for yourself, check in, recharge, exactly what I was going for with this, picture right here, recharging the battery, spending time outside, nature, hikes, spending time with your dog. Love that. Fur babies are amazing. As you can see, I have my emotional support cat with me, right? Yeah, very, very good. Okay. Any other ideas, anything popping up for anybody? Going for a run, being in nature, taking a bath. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. These are all really great ways to check in with yourself. You guys are defining self-care, already. I don't even have to do it for you. Okay. So this next slide, this is an homage to a trend that I saw going around on social media. So what people think self-care is: bubble baths and wine. No, I'm sure both are great. They contribute to self-care in different ways and in moderation. But self-care is so much more than doing the things that make you feel good. It is a mindset, it is a lifestyle, and it is a priority. And not a lot of people realize that. It can be very challenging to put things into practice when they don't initially come easily. So you'll see here what it actually is. And this isn't even just a fraction. This is all I could just fit on the flow chart or on the pie chart, right? So you're going to see some challenging things there, like work-life balance, setting boundaries, feeling your feelings, finding purpose. Sometimes those things don't come easily, and it takes a lot of effort to establish those things. In the short term, it's uncomfortable, but in the long term, it preserves your physical, mental, emotional well-being. Okay. Any questions or concerns about my diagram? Yes, I know it's a little blurry. It didn't like being in the big screen. Okay. Okay, so let's dive right in. So these are the first 3 types of self-care we're going to talk about. There's obviously physical. So this involves nurturing your body in ways that will keep you in prime physical health. So some examples of this might be getting enough sleep, drinking enough water, getting a healthy diet, making sure that you're getting your nutrients, supplements, exercising, or at the very least moving, because we're not meant to be stagnant human beings. Taking your meds as prescribed if you have any medications, and just good hygiene, right? Whether that's, showering, brushing your hair, brushing your teeth, flossing. How many of us have lied to the dentist that we've flossed? I may have done that last week. Just our basic things, right? Right. And, things like that are very important just to keep us going, right? Like, we want to take care of our physical health, and our caring of ourselves in that way allows us to move on to other areas like mental and emotional self-care, right? So Mental self-care is kind of a two-part. If you're someone who is really bogged down by to-do lists, all of the things to do, there's a lot of overthinking, catastrophizing. Part of mental self-care is decluttering your mind, giving space to those things in kind of like a compartmentalized way, right? You don't have to think it all at once. Give it time, give it space, right? This also means stimulating your brain in ways that help strengthen your cognitive well-being. So activities that speak to this type of self-care are reading a book, doing a puzzle, taking a class, right, to learn something new, healthy self-talk, but it also involves maybe a structured routine, if that works for you, right? Maybe it has to-do lists so that you can organize your thoughts a little bit better. I live by my agenda. You're going to be terrified when you see this, but look at all the color coding, right? This is what I need to stay sane, right? That might not work for you, but for some people it does. And we'll get into that kind of individualized process in a little bit, okay? So emotional self-care, feel your feelings, folks, right? This is important. This means engaging in activities that allows you to connect with and process all of your emotions. Emphasis on all, so the good, the bad, and the ugly ones, right? We are emotional beings, and it is okay to have a wide range of emotions. If you're angry, if you're afraid, if you are sad, all of those are kind of indicator lights as to something's going on. And if you ignore them, you ignore those warning signs, right? And then your emotional well-being and mental health overall is at risk, right? So things that you could do to support this type of self-care is journaling, establishing healthy coping skills, right? Practicing mindfulness, naming and validating your emotions, because all of your emotions are valid. You have a right to feel what you feel. Remember that, okay? And maybe most importantly for some people, talking to a professional like me. So maybe having a therapist to help you along that journey, okay? The next three types of self-care that we're going to look at is professional, social, and spiritual. Okay. So professional is kind of self-explanatory because we're always talking about balancing your personal and professional life, right? Leaving work at work. That's really important. Also, it means meeting your career goals. Are you in a job where you actually feel fulfilled? Are you finding value in the things that you do, right? If you are doing something that you don't find important or doesn't really support your way of living, that can create some dissonance or some tension. And then that affects your self-care and your outlook on life, right? Make sense? Also, we have social self-care. This is typically the one that I see a lot of. We are always talking about spending more time with friends and loved ones. This is something that people really lost out on during the pandemic and are trying to really boost their morale by spending more time with friends and loved ones. This could also just mean forming other authentic connections with people. I don't know about you, but when I was in the height of the pandemic, I was getting in, I was getting my groceries, head down, getting out. Now that things have started to open up a bit, I didn't realize how much I missed talking to my cashier or whoever was supporting me, asking them how their day was, right? So social self-care means, yes, Mallory, yeah, you too? Yeah, me, all of the above, right? So, for ways to engage from a social perspective, this could mean, calling a loved one, going out on dates, right? The dating scene really took a hit during this time, right? Joining a support group or planning hangouts with friends, right? So those are really important things, especially now that things are starting to open up, right? And last but not least, we've got spiritual self-care. So this doesn't necessarily have to have a religious connotation. It can, if that fits with your belief system and how you view the world, that's wonderful. The underlying message behind this is to feed your soul and nurture your spirit. So this means developing a sense of meaning in the world or finding your purpose, right? And this could mean different things for everybody, but activities that can help bring this out in you is meditation, going to a place of worship, practicing gratitude, or even traveling, right? Different cultures, different perspectives, that can be a very enriching experience, okay? Any questions or comments about the different types of self-care? Okay. Oof, dang it, I missed it. There we go. All right, so how do we put this into practice? All right, so here we have the acronym CRUM. I alluded to this at the very beginning, but was very hush-hush about what it meant. CRUM stands for Connect, Rest, Unplug, and Move. Okay, so these are the 4 core components that I work with clients, where we want to make sure that they are hitting all 4 of these areas, right? So how do you put this into practice? Self-care is different for everyone, so it's important to customize your rituals to fit you. So engaging in authentic self-care. And if you don't know what that means, one of my colleagues last week, Brittany, published a blog on that. So if you want to go to our social events or our social page on Shift, you can actually read about what authentic self-care looks like so that you can tailor your activities to fit you, your strengths, your needs, okay? But the overarching message here is keeping these 4 components in mind, you create a better balanced circle of self-care, okay? So jumping right into that, connect, rest, unplug, move. These are some different strategies to, see what fits into the connect, the rest, the unplug, the move section, right? But notice how when we're thinking back to the different types of self-care that we talked about earlier, each one underneath represents a different type. So meditating, we mentioned that that could be a spiritual aspect of self-care, right? For taking a nap, that is a physical form, right? Your body needs to rest. Doing nothing could be the mental form of self-care, right? Connecting, calling a loved one or going out to lunch with a friend, that's the social type of self-care, okay? And snuggling a pet, that's, for me, that's emotional all the way. So someone's saying here their challenge during COVID was that all connection was plugged in, right? It was, everything was virtual, right? Unplugging felt very isolating. I absolutely agree with you, Pamela, right? That was our only connection to other people, but we were so immersed in the virtual experience that we saw all the bad things on the news, right? All the doom scrolling, right? Very, very challenging for sure. Okay. Does anybody have any other experiences, maybe during COVID or maybe just in practice where you're like, that was a big challenge for me and I don't know how to put that into practice? Feel free to shout it out into the void or type it in. Right? Yeah. Okay. All right. So keeping CRUM in mind, we're going to move on to our myth number 1. I don't have time. I hear this a lot with my clients. You do have time. You just need to make it a priority, right? A big part of self-care is making it a priority, making you a priority. And an even bigger part of self-care is giving yourself permission to do so. Okay. So I have worked with a ton of clients. I've heard people in my personal life say, I don't deserve self-care right now because I haven't completed, this, and that, right? If your body and your mind is telling you to take a break, you deserve it, right? All of that kind of starts with finding out where you currently allocate your time. Because I betcha you're on social media for hours a day, right? If you have an iPhone and you swipe to the left, you can see where all your time goes on your phone. I'm not sure about Android users, but I'm sure there's a tracker in there somewhere. And it really goes to show you how much time you actually spend. I get a notification every Sunday on mine saying your screen time was up 5% this week. And I'm like, ooh, didn't seem like it. So why don't we jump into our activity, right? Feel free to drop, my apologies, my cat is being disruptive. So wheel of productivity. Feel free to pull out a piece of paper, grab 6 or more coloring utensils, prepare to think about your current schedule. We're only going to spend a few minutes on this for time's sake, so don't worry if you don't get it all down. You can continue on while I'm presenting the rest of it, and then maybe we can share a little bit at the end, okay? This is what it looks like. So the wheel of productivity, I found this on the website The Muse about 1.5 years ago, and I found it very useful to help me color in where things are, going on throughout my day. And this might look different depending on the day, depending on your schedule, right? If you have, a yoga class Tuesday nights, right? You might be putting that in, but on Wednesday nights, you've got an hour of free time, okay? So feel free to write this down, create this little circle, and you'll see I've got an example of mine. The legend can be varied, so I made sure to personalize it to myself. That makes me really focus on kind of how my day-to-day goes. But over here, you'll see maybe you have a commute to work, right? I work from home, so I got to roll out of bed, put my face on, and jump into my chair, and 2 minutes. But if you have a commute, that can take hours in a day. But spoiler alert, you can actually integrate self-care while you're commuting, whether that's listening to an audiobook while you're driving, or maybe you're on the train reading, doing a puzzle, things like that. We'll talk about that a little bit later, about habit stacking, but personalize it, right? I want to hear all about your days and where you feel that you could fit self-care in more effectively, okay? Looking at mine here, you see I try and get 8 hours of sleep. Not easy when I wake up to a fur child on my chest breathing in my face saying it's breakfast time at 5 a.m. some mornings. I make sure to really prioritize my routines, my food, my hygiene. My skincare routine is a really big self-care factor for me, because if I didn't have that, I wouldn't look nearly this good, right? I prioritize work, so 8 to 12, right? 12 is non-negotiable lunch. 1 to 4, right? I make sure that I squeeze in breaks in there. From 4 to 5, that's usually when I try and exercise, whether that's going to the gym with my partner, or if my body is like, you need to rest, I'll sneak in a little nap, right? So things like that. And then I relax from 7 to 9. So you'll see me playing Jeopardy. That's my mental self-care because I'm engaging in those puzzles and knowledge. I crochet hats, right? That's my wheel, right? Yours is going to look different, right? What fits your needs is going to be different than me, and it's going to be different from, actually, it's going to be different for everybody here, okay? So take some time, right? Evaluate what your life looks like. Maybe make a circle for every day of the week if you need to, right? And if you struggle with, writing all this down, if you miss something, feel free to shout it out, and I can pull up the website on where you can find this wheel of productivity. You can also Google it as well. It comes up really quickly, okay? I think it's like the first or second one, right? Yep, Pamela, don't worry. I will pull it up. I'll make a note of that. And remind me too. I'm a little anxious right now doing this. Whew. Okay. All right, next, let's talk about your energy budget. Oh, actually, missed a slide. There we go. Okay, so myth number 2, it feels like so much effort. This might actually be in part true, because a big part of self-care is being proactive. If you are burnt out or you are reactively attempting self-care, your body has to work extra hard, right? Looking at that at the top, that empty sign, it's going to be so much harder to put things into practice. So how do we work through that, right? We start by assessing where your energy levels are at and tailoring certain activities to those, times of day when you're feeling less anxious or anxious, less tired. My kitty. Anyway, so this is going to look like right here, energy budget. Some people use a theory, it's called spoon theory. It's a lot of information though, so I decided to leave it out just to kind of think about just your energy level overall, right? So if you wake up and you're feeling low energy, but you know you need to take care of yourself. This is just based on me, but these are some things that I do. Affirmations, journal, meditate, read. You'll notice that these activities require little to no movement at all. Primarily, this mostly happens in my bed in the morning. And it doesn't take a lot of time, right? I'm max 20 minutes. So if you're feeling really down and out, think about things that aren't going to take that long and don't require a lot of energy, movement, mental capacity, things like that. Okay. Then if you're feeling a little bit more energy, a little bit more energized, right? You'll notice that these ones here for me, skincare, tidy up, try a new recipe. One, they take longer. Two, they require me to get up and do stuff, right? I love doing these things, but if I'm not in a headspace, I'm likely not going to do this, right? And that's the same for everyone else, right? Sometimes, getting up, trying to do something, it takes a lot of effort, a lot of discipline, right? So for me, skincare, tidying up. If I don't tidy up my space, then I'm not tidying up my mind, right? I love to bake. You can ask everybody in my life, ask all the therapists here, and I share cupcakes all the time, virtually, of course, through the Slack team. They're a little jealous. They haven't had any in person yet. But I love to do it. But if I'm having a really stressful day, do I really want to try a new recipe and then have to clean up all the dishes afterwards? Not really. So I listen to my body. Okay. And then last but not least is high energy. You'll notice workout is at the top. And I know a lot of people struggle with working out. They know it's good for them, but it takes a lot of energy to implement that into your schedule and to actually get your butt to the gym or even outside, really. Right? So that's where you want to tailor your self-care towards higher energy activities. One, it takes longer. Two, it takes a lot of effort. So for me, I plan my entire week, as you saw my agenda, right? Lunch dates. I'm a bit of an anxious driver, so I have to consider getting there. I have to get my car and go. Then I have to entertain the person that I'm with. It takes a lot of mental capacity. Yes, it's great to visit a friend, but I'm in the right headspace to do that, right? So thinking about this kind of idea, what would people do if they were lower energy, right? Apply this to you. Give me the proof here. You're in a low energy state. What's going to work for you? Feel free to shout it out or type it in the chat. Someone else is with me, reading, watching a comforting movie. Yeah. Podcast, take a nap. Yeah. Scrolling Instagram, except it makes you feel worse. Yes, that can be challenging, right? So maybe it's about filtering the types of things that you're looking at on Instagram, right? Doing a social media detox, right? I love this, coloring and doing art. Yeah, I had a lot of fun making my wheel. Right? I hope you guys did too if you attempted it. Stretching, right? Great ways. Okay. What about medium energy? Right? So this is personalized to you. This is your low energy. Now, maybe one of these activities is a medium energy for someone else. Right? We'll get to see that as you put it up. But if you have medium energy, what's something that you're going to do to take care of yourself? Yep. Yep. Go for a walk, yoga at home. Excellent. Okay. And high energy. Who's going to do high energy? Go for a run, bake, right? See, Jacqueline, she wants to bake at high energy, where I'm good to do it at medium energy, right? Metcon, yeah. Okay, so that goes to show you. Jacqueline, she and I are on the same page, same coping strategy. But for me, I like to bake when I'm at medium energy, right? She likes to do it when she's at high energy. And that goes to show you the importance of being in tune with your needs, okay? Right, I'm just looking at the time here. Last but not least, last thing we're going to talk about here real quickly is habit stacking. So how does this work? You've thought about all your self-care. You've thought about where you can put it into your day. How do you actually put it into practice? So you start with an existing habit, and then you finish with that habit. You add the new one. So I've got two examples here. You wake up in the morning and you make a coffee. A lot of people do that, right? But do you scroll on your phone on Instagram, doom scrolling? Or do you make the decision to go out on your porch and enjoy some sun while it's still here, right? Or leaving work. If you leave work every day and you need a better work-life balance, right? Whether that's shutting your laptop or, leaving the office and getting in the car, going straight to your settings and turning off notifications, creating a boundary, right? Notice how the things that you do every day, pair it with this new thing that you want or that's going to preserve your mental health. The more you practice that, the more you stack it, the easier it is to implement, okay? So these are important things to remember. Your energy levels will fluctuate on a daily basis, so listen to your mind and body. Consider choosing activities that require less time or effort, but are still enriching, right? And first and foremost, be kind to yourself. All of my clients know this is my motto. It's okay. This is a lot harder than it looks. Putting yourself first comes second nature to people, and they only realize it once it's too late. So if you find that you want to try these things and you're still struggling to put it into practice, consider connecting with a therapist. We are a great way to help you find what works for you. We are detectives, we connect the dots. So hopefully we can get you on the right track and set you up with tools that will support your self-care as we move into fall and winter, right? This is when we need it most, okay? Thank you. Wow, that went by so quickly. I'm glad everybody was here. I'd like to end off with any questions or comments that you might have or any takeaways, things that you might use. We'll just take a couple minutes just, for everybody's time management, right? So any questions or any comments about today's presentation? Okay. Okay, very useful. Wish it was longer. I was actually preparing for an hour. I wish it was an hour, but. Okay, circle activity for homework. I like to see it, Pamela. Okay, great reminders and tips. Awesome. Noticing other areas of self-care, right? We don't want to put all our eggs into one basket. I know a lot of people sometimes really focus on physical self-care, but are they really feeling their feelings? Maybe not so much, right? It can be very challenging to make sure we're hitting all of those areas. Very overwhelming. Someone said, can I put meals in my circle because I forget to eat a lot? Yes. You'll notice in my circle, I had blue areas. I have to prioritize my meals as well, and it's been very helpful, right? Yeah, if that's what you need, if that's what you need to sustain your body and, support your self-care, right? Do it. Yeah. Okay, any other questions, any other comments before I let everyone go? Actually, I want to put the muse 1 second here. Yeah. Okay, so into the chat for everyone, you can go to the muse and you will be able to see someone who's already colored theirs in, and then it'll give you the big circle for you to do yourself. Okay? All right. Energy budgeting this week. I love to see it. All right, then. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Welcome, Pam. Thank you, everyone, for coming. I really appreciate you showing up. Hopefully, you took something away from this. More than welcome to connect to Shift, other therapists, to see if you need additional support. Keep your eyes peeled for other events that we have coming up this month, and I believe into November. I look forward to maybe seeing you in the future. Okay? All right. So take care. I hope you have a good evening, everyone. Do something for yourself tonight. Excellent.